All right, we're live. Back to the editor screen. I can see all your comments here. That'll be even better. There we go. So, looks like we're set up. Okay, awesome. So today we're going to do the same things that we've done before in the previous live stream, talking about membership questions, Shakuhachi questions, and some other interesting things. Hopefully we get a bunch of interesting questions coming up. I've got the chat pulled up, and I also see here that we have Zero Almat, or Oalmat, who's joined the Shoden lesson series, and so awesome. Thank you so much for signing up for that. Really appreciate it. Hope that you enjoy all the content. So now that we're coming up very, very close to giving away this Shakuhachi, okay, so we have this beginner flute that I'll be giving away on the 31st. So that would be my Monday. So probably the 30th for many of you that see the video, but the 31st for me. Let me move this up just a little bit. There we go. That's a lot better. So yeah, here's the flute that we're going to be giving away. Very excited about that. Very excited for the winner. So I have my note cards ready. I'm going to start cutting them up into equal parts, and then start writing everybody's names down. That alone is going to take me a long time to get everybody's names written down on there, but very much excited for it. And good luck to everybody. I hope that you win. Now, time for the plug. So the plug is that if you see this video right now and you want to win this flute, if you right below this video, you'll see Renzo Flutes, and then you'll see a join button there. Hit that join button, and a bunch of options will come up for Shoden Trial, Shoden Lessons, Shuden, and then the Bamboo Champion. When you sign up for those lessons, you'll get yourself a raffle ticket. And on the 31st, I will be pulling the names from the Tengai hat, and whoever's name I pull, they're the one who gets the flute. I'll confirm with them via email and through some screenshots of their own page and whatnot, and then we'll get them sent off. You don't have to pay shipping. You don't have to pay anything. I'm just gonna I'll pay for the shipping as well. Everything is free. As far as tax goes, you might have to cover a little bit of tax, but hey, it's a free flute. You know, there's always going to be something. There's always going to be something in there that you end up having to pay, and tax is out of my control. I can't do anything about it. Okay, so today we have some people watching. So please feel free to write any question in the chat. Anything that you have questions about, maybe this flute, questions about the membership, questions about Shakuhachi in general, yeah, we'll just do some stuff like that. Okay, another thing I was thinking about was the importance of roll, and some exercises that you can do. I've uploaded a lot of videos in the membership on that tone development and many things, technical advice, tongue positioning, and all of these things that I've talked about at length. But I want to give you guys something different today that will be kind of cool. I haven't made a video about this before, and it's something that I've done for a long time, but I was never sure if the technique that I was doing was actually making an effect, like it was actually making a change. And so I don't know what the actual end result is. Does it actually change your technical approach to the instrument? Does it actually improve something? I don't know, but the way it feels after I've done the exercise helps a lot. So here's the exercise. And I got this exercise from Wim Hof. I don't know if you guys know who Wim Hof is. He's also famous for the Wim Hof breathing techniques. He's also known as Iceman. He's the guy who goes out in the middle of the Arctic and just hangs out in the winter basically in his underwear, negative degree weather. And so this is one of his techniques. So what you do is you breathe in, obviously, breathe in through the nose first and then through the mouth, and then you hold that breath for about 30 seconds. And then after you've done that, and then you exhale out, here's what I've noticed, right? I noticed that one, the air is a lot hotter. It feels warmer. Second thing I noticed is that after doing it a couple times, my body starts to warm up. So then I move from 30 seconds to a minute, and then a minute to a minute and a half, minute to 2 minutes, and you can get all the way up to 3.5 minutes. 3.5 minutes is much easier doing laying down. I don't recommend, and either does he, does not recommend doing it sitting up, and definitely not standing up. So once you get into those really long durations of holding your breath, do it laying down. But by a minute and a half, you can do it sitting, no problem. So what I've noticed, especially from my students, is that breathing in and breathing out tend not to be the problem anymore when they're playing a role. And sometimes the role can be very big, but it's very short-lived. And the issue is that people tend to use too much air when exhaling on the roll. So all this excess air comes out, and there's no focus and there's no holding back on it. Now, there's other things that are also related to that as well. Not having enough core strength involved in the playing. Maybe your larynx is tightened up. There could be also, the embouchure is too big or too big, almost like it's too big, and too small, then you would have less air coming out. But what this exercise does, and what I was thinking, is like, well, maybe they actually have a hard time holding their air in. So holding the breath is not something we do all the time, right? We do it when we swim or we go diving or something like that, but unless you're doing and swimming every single day, or if you're diving every single day, you're not used to holding your breath. And I think there's some sort of relationship with that, holding the breath and slowly allowing air out. It's the same thing with even just this action, that of like letting a little bit of air out at a time. That's not something we do every single day, besides like, oh, I'm going to cool down my coffee with a little bit of blowing on the top of it, or I'm going to blow on a hot cup of tea, something like that. So I'll kind of show you what it like looks like, and then I'll explain kind of what else I'm feeling like in that moment. So also feel free to join me in this, because it's a really good exercise, and it puts a lot of oxygen in your blood. So here we go. We're just going to breathe in twice. So we go breathe in, inhale once, and then through the mouth. Especially towards the end, it's very warm. The thing that I notice the most, though, especially when I get into the longer, so now you know what the exercise looks like, and it's just that holding of the breath. Once it gets into like 1 minute, like you go 30 seconds, 45, 1 minute and longer, it really starts to smooth out. Like the way the air kind of comes out of the mouth, it's more like it's been oiled, or it's buttered up. It's not just this kind of rough exhale of air. And I don't know else how to explain it besides that. Like, I think oiled up or buttered up is really the best way to explain it. And it's the smoothness of air coming out of the flute. And so with that, if you're able to train to hold the breath, and you don't have to use as much going out, and you're able to hold the breath longer, you would be able to play notes longer. So, for example, if I wanted to play something, much longer phrases, and I don't feel like I'm gasping for breath at the end of the phrase. Rather, it just feels like, okay, now it's time for my next breath, not ending a phrase and then okay, now let's go to play the next one. And I noticed this too also with working with the different students. We were working on the piece Akita Obako. And I did that same kind of exercise of holding that breath and then playing the piece. I'm pulling it up right now. Give me 1 second. There we go. And here's what I noticed about it too. There's a secondary issue that happens. So here's the piece. And this is just with the breath 2 in, right? So I have the breath in. I've already done my exercises of holding the air into the lungs. And now I'm going to just play through the piece. And I'm going to try just playing it without any breaths. I'm not circular breathing. I'm not adding any techniques like that. I'm just doing one breath and just seeing how far I can go it's just like a milestone, right? Just to check how far I can go. Okay, so and that's where I really do, like, I run out of air. I don't have any more after that. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 4 phrases. So normally I would take 4 breaths for that. So if I start out with that kind of breath, right? I start out with that kind of breath where I'm really full of air, but not like overwhelming, like where you don't want to fill the glass to the brim where the water is bubbling on top. You know, you leave a little bit from there, right? Maybe 90%. That little catch breath now will refill what I just used. So I'm always having a really full tank of gas that I can spend on these phrases. So then if I do want to, you know, be even more expressive, I can. Not that I want to be that expressive on every single phrase, but maybe there becomes a point, maybe the climax of the piece, or maybe at one of the high points. The next line over is a good example of that. You know, that's nice stuff. I can really put a little bit more air into it, get a little bit more dynamic range, and I think that is an issue for many people. Like beginners and intermediate players who are playing shakuhachi, how to control the air, right? So I recommend doing that as an exercise and see how it goes. Again, I don't know if it actually has, like, I haven't read it anywhere that any other flute player has done it. There probably is a paper somewhere. There probably is an exercise book of someone talking about it. I'm just unaware of it. I just like the Wim Hof guy, and so a lot of his breathing techniques, box breathing, different types of meditative breathing for health purposes, I just really enjoy. One thing I also noticed about it, as just as a side remark for that breathing style, is that when you do take a breath in like that, your heart rate lowers a lot. And so when I was doing it consistently, again and again and again, over and over like a period of like 10-15 minutes, my heart rate was like around 50. And it was really nice that if things started to slow down, I felt a lot more relaxed. My body was really warm. It was a good feeling. Very, very good feeling. Okay, so we'll open it up for questions. Any questions you have regarding Shakuhachi membership or the Shakuhachi that I'm giving away, feel free to ask. I'll show the Shakuhachi once more. The giveaway is on the 31st, which is 3 days away. So 3 days. If you sign up now, tomorrow, or I gotta have a cutoff point of when I'm gonna take signups. We'll say like 8 a.m. of the 31st, maybe something like that, because then I can at least see it. And if someone else adds, I can write their name in and put them into the basket. Again, the Shoden levels, so all the levels that are there. So if you go to the video here, if you're not a member, go to the join button right below this video. It's right next to my name, Renzo Flutes. Click that. You'll be given 4 options. And then the lowest option, Shoten Trial, you get 1 ticket. Shoten Lesson Series or Series, 2 tickets. Shooting Lesson Series is 5, and then Bamboo Champion is 10. So here we are. Here's the flute that I'm giving away. It's a beginner Yozan flute, but don't let the name beginner fool you. It plays very, very nicely. I've played it on multiple streams already, and also videos as well to showcase this. It has all the notes up to this high C, so it's a really well made flute. So the beginner is almost just kind of it's almost an insult to the flute because it doesn't play like one. It does have a kinko insert, which is plastic. It has 1 hanko bearing the name Yozan on the back here, and it is a size 5 flute, so it is thin and it is lighter weight, but it doesn't not pack a punch. So I always thought, oh, here's from Vasily. I always thought that student flute would be a more appropriate name for those 1 hanko Yozans. I agree. I think student flute is way better of an option rather than beginner flutes. But I think it's just the direct translation over Soshinsha, which is just literally means beginner or a person who has just started. And also, like, even the name Shoden, like, it's the first teachings, right, or the first things that are transmitted from one person to another. So it's kind of hard to put them over. We have like this negative view of novice, but novice doesn't necessarily mean bad at all. It just, but and this is an interesting point because even like all like the advanced techniques. They all come through on the flute. They do them quite nicely. And even like roll daimeri, su daimeri, the koro-koros, vocal techniques, a lot of the dokyoku things that we do from the Chikushinkai, the Muraiki is a little weak. Yeah, so the Muraiki isn't as good as like on my flute or on longer flutes, but that's a lot more to it's more. I think that has more to do with the bore being thinner rather than it being thicker. So okay, all right. Thank you for the statement, Vasily. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and if not, that's fine too. I'm very good at talking to myself as well. No problems there. And I can also just play a couple tunes that I've wanted to play. Recently, I did yesterday, I made a video of me playing Nezasa Shirabe, or just Shirabe, and Sagariha. So there's a note from Jinni Odo that the pieces Nezasa or Shirabe and Sagariha were actually one piece. They're meant to be played together. And so I was looking at them and I was teaching these couple pieces to my students, and I was saying like, you should try doing that and try putting them together and whatever. And then I thought to myself, oh, well, you know what if you just like cut out part of Shirabe and like inserted Sagariha, and then you close it out with the ending of Nezasa Shirabe. And so that's what I did in those videos. So there's one on the 1.6, and then I think tomorrow at 12 a.m. Japan time, the 2.3 version will be released as well. And so I think it works very well actually to do that. So I'd be interested in everybody's thoughts. Please go check out the video later, not now, but later. Go check that out and tell me what you think about the mixing of those two pieces. I think I do. So I'm using the Chikushinkai scores. I'm doing lines 1 through written down. Okay, 1 through 11 in Shirabe, and then all of or 1 to 15 in Sagariha. So I don't play the last two lines, and then I go back to Nezasa Shirabe, and I play 12 to the end. So there it is. See what you think about that. I think it sounds very nice. Personally, I like it, and I probably will start doing that if I am asked to perform that piece or those pieces. I probably will do it like that in the future for a few times, just to see how people like it or don't like it. So there it is. Dead Pianist. Is there a sound difference between Yozan? Do you mean like the beginner flutes and the pro flutes? Is that what you mean? Because if you mean that, then yes, there is a sound difference between them. I wouldn't say there's much of a sound difference. Tozan and Kinko, yeah, not so much. Tozan and Kinko, I don't think there's a huge difference in his sound quality of the flutes. Sometimes, I've played some of his Tozan flutes where they just make big, huge, round, dokyoku sounds on them. I actually just sold a 2.0 Tozan to a guy and a 2.3 Kinko. Both of them play the Chikushinkai repertoire wonderfully. They do very, very nice job. Great Muraiki sounds and, Tozan and Kinko flutes. Then I've played other Tozan flutes that actually remind me a little bit of early 20th century Tozan flutes, which they're not as, I like to use the word bossy and in terms of their dynamic range. But the color is a little bit more like folk music-y. So it's not diverse, but very focused on this one specific sound. So it's going to be, rather than saying okay, it's a Tozan and a Kinko, I would look at the wall thickness of the flute. So here's your next question. Dead Pianist says, would a size 8 thickness be more durable than smaller sizes? All the bamboo that Yozan uses is cured for more than 5 years. The personal flute that I've had, it was cured for 40 years. It was, I don't even know how he got it. I think it was one of the first bamboos he put in his storage and then happened to fall into my hands. So it's, and I guess I need a clarification on what you mean by durable. If you mean durable by if it's going to last longer or if one's going to crack more easily than the other, the bamboo's cured very well. I don't see how that would make a difference in it. They're both picked and in the time of winter. The bamboo is very hard. If you mean durable and like what you want to do with it in terms of like if I play really hard on it, is it going to break, like in terms of like the sound breaking? I would say that the size 8 would be a much better option than the beginner flute, or even just thinner flutes in general, because he does have pro, size 6, and size 7 flutes. Size 7 is great. It's very well balanced. I really like the size 7 flutes. And yeah, so, well, okay, here. So let's do this. So since you are trying to decide which one to buy, give me some of the options. Like what are you looking for in a flute, and I'll help guide you in terms of size and style. Because the thing is that, most of Yozan's flutes are going to be, in the Yozan bubble of sound. He's going to have things that are unique, like he'll have a couple Jinashi flutes here and there. He'll have a couple Jimori flutes here and there. He'll have one that's half Jinashi and half Jiari, where the top is Jinashi and the bottom is Jiari, and so on and so forth. I'm assuming, Dead Pianist, that you're looking at a 1.8, and that you're wanting something with a little bit more power and color, right? Big row, I'm bigger, so I'm guessing thicker flute would fit me better. Yeah, 1.8. So yeah, a lot of times usually when I'm asking people for like about their size in terms of like how tall are they or like about how much do they weigh, it usually has to do more with longer flutes. But in your case, I definitely would go for like what you're looking at. Now he does have size 9s. He has size 9 flutes, and the thing about them, in your case too, since it looks like you're wanting to get something that's very serious, I would just go straight with the pro model. I'm looking on his site right now, and I see like some 6s and 7s. I have I can call him and get specific sizes and stuff like that if you want. So what I would do is send me an email, and let's set up a time to try some out. So we'll have him send me some, and I'll play you some, and you can pick which one that you like the most. I don't charge for that service; it's completely free. So that goes for everybody. If you're interested in in getting a Yozan and you really want to hear how some of them sound and you want to compare them, always feel free to email me. In my email, you can contact me through my website. So just go to seanheadmusic.com and then go to the contact page, and then just email me and let's get you set up with something really nice. Okay. But really, really good questions on that, and finding a flute, especially the forever flute, is really hard. I was looking for this when I was looking for my forever flute Giatti, and I've had this flute now for I think 6 or 7 years. I played a lot of stuff. I played Araki Kodos 2 and 3s. I played Myotokindos. I played there's a guy in Kyoto, I keep forgetting his name. Why can't I remember? Kitahara. And then both the father and the son, I played both of their flutes. I played Shozan. I played a couple Myoan things. Myoan was definitely not for me. And then I played I think I played a guy from Tokyo, but I don't remember his name. And then there was another guy who he doesn't make flutes, but he just fixes them up and whatever. And I played a couple of those too. But by far, Yozan for me was the best fit. It's not to say that Yozan's better than any of these people in terms of like craftsmanship. Like there's a lot of guys who just make beautiful, beautiful flutes. So yeah. I saw Araki Kodo 6 a few months ago. He teaches in my area. Oh, very nice. Yeah, the Araki flutes, the 2 and the 2 I want to talk about, because the Araki Kodo 2 was a Jinashi flute that I picked up and played, and it was very, very expensive. That was a flute I almost regret not buying, but it was really, really expensive. But that was a great, great instrument. Kevin says, I bought a Yozan size 8 1.8 flute from Sensei Sean earlier this year, and I can tell you the thicker flute looks awesome. It feels better in holding it in hands. Yeah, the thicker flutes do feel a lot better, and I think they allow for so much more. I don't feel like there's a breaking point on the row on my 1.8. Like I can just keep going and going and going, and then if it does break, it's usually because my technique is poor, right? Something that I do is wrong, right? So then that's something that needs to be fixed there. So but and you can kind of see it too. Maybe I can hold it here. So this is the one I'm giving away versus my personal one. You can see it's a lot thinner. So right, this is a size, like I would say this is like a size 8.5, not really an 8, and then this is the 5 here. So it's considerable. Yeah, and the bore is smaller, so that will also change how it vibrates as well. The thing that's nice about thinner flutes is, one, they require less air. Just as a straight statement, they require less air. The other thing that's nice is that they tend to be warmer in sound. But not always. But in general, from my experience, the Yozan's flutes that are thinner tend to be warmer. I think that they work very nicely for folk music and enka, so people who like to play, that I don't even know. I don't know how to explain enka to people. It's for those who know what enka is. How would you explain it to somebody who's never heard it before? Like Japanese Frank Sinatra, because it's not jazz, right? It doesn't have anything to it's its own genre completely, but it has that sort of feeling like they have big orchestras and like or sometimes big bands behind them, and it's a singer who's just dressed to the nines. Women wear beautiful, beautiful, expensive kimonos, and men wear like brioni suits. But and the singing style is almost like Mino, but more pop ish. So for those who don't know what enka is, just look up enka. It is by far one of the most popular musical styles in East Asia, and for some reason it's just never made its way over to the States. But it is good stuff. So definitely take a look at enka. So, but you can play enka on these shakuhachis, the thinner ones, and I can even just play an example of that. Let's see, sheet music PDF. Let's see if we can pull that out from my storage here. What would be a good example of? I feel like Kawa no Nagare no Yo ni would be a really great example of it. And I have that music in my box, but I think it's packed up. Kawa no Nagare yo ni. Yeah, okay, so Vasily says, my Yozan size 7 feels perfect for me. Good balance between strong sound and lightweight. It's a very agile. It's probably about 350 grams, and that's a pretty large difference compared to the U, 420 grams. Yeah, so it's not actually really the weight that matters as much. It's the balance between the thickness of the bore and the thickness of the wall of the flute and the wideness of the bore. So here is the flow of a river, or flow like a river. Sorry, something like that. So that's the Kawa no Nagare no Yo ni, like the flow of the river. And that like that part there, that Kawa no Nagare yo ni, that little bit, that's really, really famous. And there's a singer who it basically like boom, that's her thing. Okay. Very prettily played. Thank you very much, Shamsur. Oh, so yeah, what's up with everybody having like black and white, like icons? Like Dead Pianist has like the skull. Kevin has his kind of self-portrait as black and white, and then Shamsur here is like black and white, like silhouette. Just interesting. The lack of color here, when we're talking about color in flutes, almost feels a little bit just ironic. Oh, it's Beethoven's skull? Oh, that's interesting. Did you ever see the video and like the research on his hair that they had? Oh, so also Shamsur, that's also your actual photo of your shadow, so it makes it even better. So now, the pianist, if it was only your skull, then we'd have a theme going on here where it's just all self-portraits. So yeah, and they had a video where they took, or they have like a coil of Beethoven's hair, and they took it and analyzed it, and had like a lot of what is that called? Not was it mercury? I can't remember if it was mercury or lead. Let's take a look here. Beethoven's hair sample. So health issues prior to death, and I think, let's see what he had. Okay, so here's what he says. A team started. No, I want to know what his health issues were, not his genetics. Okay. If his alcohol consumption was sufficiently heavy over a long enough period of time, the interaction with the genetic risk factors present one possible explanation of his cirrhosis. So that was what he most likely died of. So cirrhosis of the liver. But I know that he had a high level of either it was mercury or lead content in his blood, or in his hair as well. Here's what else is said. So previous work suggests that Beethoven had lead poisoning was determined to be based on hair sample that didn't belong to him. Oh, okay. That one instead belonged to a woman. But 5 of the samples all came from the same European male and matched his German ancestry. Beethoven had hand-delivered one of the locks himself to the pianist Anton Halm in 1826, saying, "Das sind mein Haar." This is my hair. The genetic... Oh, by the way, for those who don't know, giving locks of hair to people like that for family members was a keepsake, as a memorial for people. That was really common in that time period. The genetic analysis spotted clues hiding the composer's DNA that could add context to his health issues. So we were unable to find a definitive cause for Beethoven's deafness or gastrointestinal problems, Krauss said. However, we did discover a number of significant genetic risk factors for liver disease, he added. We also found evidence of infection with hepatitis B virus, and at latest, the months before the composer's final illness, those likely contributed to his death. Beethoven's genetic data also helped the researchers rule out other potential causes of his ailments, such as celiac disease, an autoimmune condition, lactose intolerance, or irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. Letters written by Beethoven as well as those in his friends showed that the composer regularly consumed alcohol, no surprise, although it's difficult to know how much he drank. I can tell you as a composer, copious. A close friend wrote that Beethoven had at least a liter of wine with lunch a day. See, I called it before even reading it. Drinking alcohol combined with genetic risk factors of liver disease and his hepatitis B infection may have been the perfect storm for Beethoven's health near the end of his life. Quote, this is from a PhD from the University of Cambridge. Quote, if his alcohol consumption was sufficiently heavier over a long enough period of time, the interaction with his genetic risk factors present one possible explanation for his cirrhosis. And we read that before. So there you have it. Wasn't lead. So I got corrected on that because apparently that was a different person's lock of hair. So there you have it. I don't know how we got off onto that. Oh, because your picture is Beethoven's skull. That's right. But yeah, a liter of wine. That's a lot. That's a lot of wine. Here another thing that Beethoven did is he used to grind his own coffee. He ground 1 cup of coffee with 60 beans. That's a lot of beans. Like that's basically just like caffeine tar, than it is anything else. Like that's not. I don't think there's any benefit, like health benefit. There's a little health benefit drinking some coffee. That is asking for a heart attack. So he in his diaries, if you can buy a collection of them of his letter and diary entries. There's one that comes in like a little purple softback, and in there it talks about how he used to go on this commentator notes on like really long walks. He would just go out into the wilderness and be gone for like a week, have like a little cabin, and he's just walking around brewing a bunch of coffee, drinking a bunch of alcohol. The fact he lived as long as he did is insane. So there it is. Let's see. Okay, so I gotta put this cap back on and then put this other cap back on. So Vasily says, after all that wine, you got to stay awake. Hence the 60 beans. See, that's it's probably true. Now the thing is, though, I don't think that wine in the 1700s was as heavy or strong as it is today. Like I think we can look that up too. But average wine alcohol content in 1700. And of course, he lived later than that, but you know, we'll see. Okay, so about 3%, right? So it's only three. It's what it says here, right? In Europe and America, 1700 to 1800s, and this is of course during the time of the temperance movement too. So that's a whole nother issue as well. But the wine seemed to be about 3%. So even if you're drinking a liter of it, I mean that's not going to get you, you know, completely. You know, you're not going to be rolling on the floor. Yeah, so it even says here, like, you'll see here that the where is it? So it basically jumped up at one point all the way to a like 12% to 14% average. Oh yeah, I do know Autumn Wind. That is a piece by no, hold on. Autumn Wind is Takamitsu's piece, right? Let me look that up because there's another one too that he has. Yeah, Autumn. Oh no, Toshio Hosokawa. That's his piece. Yeah, because he has Toru Takamitsu also has a second double concerto Shakuhachi in Biwa. That is gosh, what is it called? It's with the Gagaku ensemble too. Oh no, and then there's in an Autumn Garden for Gagaku Orchestra. I've got all these pieces now mixed up. But yeah, okay, so Toshio's piece, well, I don't know him personally, so Hosokawa's piece, he's still living, that is a really nice concerto. And I think that the performer of it is Matama Sensei, if I remember it properly. It also might be Kinya Sogawa. Tadashi Tajima. So he's the one who's played that. Okay, that's really good. Oh yeah, Hosokawa also has a horn concerto, something Blossom. Okay, Hosokawa horn concerto, and there's a recording of is it Berlin Philharmonic? Yes, Berliner Philharmonic horn concerto, with Stefan Dorr, who is just like, he's like the guy. Here's a little sound sample of it. Great stuff. So that's just a little bit of the piece. They have like a 3-minute sampling of the full concerto. But if you like contemporary music, and you like Hosokawa, that is a great piece of music. Okay, and there's that. I think they had like that. The Shakuhachi 5 by Dai Fujikura. I can't remember how it sounds. 1 second. Let me just pull it up again. If I hear the first little bit of it, it will hopefully come back to me. Okay, Shakuhachi 5 Dai Fujikura. There it is. Yeah, I remember that opening. I'm going to skip just a little bit because I want to hear the different sections of colors that he's using. Okay, so the main theme that he's using is messing around with the vibrato stuff that I'm hearing in the piece. I remember this. I remember a lot of it. Um, I like his music a lot. Here's my only thing. I can only do so much of it because it is very what is the word? Um, I don't want to say expressive. It's not that it's not expressive, but there are like these little like emotional affective motifs rather than like an actual melodic content that develops. He's developing tone color and effects. It's the same thing with the piece Koro Koro that he wrote, right? It's development and the effect of Koro Koro. And so here is development effect of vibrato and sliding and moving between notes. So they're more atmospheric ideas rather than trying for that. So it takes a lot of brain power to listen in and go through from one area to another. So, but yeah, it's a good piece. It's a good piece. Can you say a few things about Chikume? How and when are they given in your lineage? I'm not related to Chikumeisha. In terms of the Yamaguchi Goro school, I'm not related to them at all. So Chikumeisha, let's pull up their website really quickly. So this is it's Yamaguchi Goro's. It started by Shiro Yamaguchi, and so it's Yamaguchi Goro or Yamaguchi Shiro the fourth in 1921, right? And then his son Yamaguchi Goro the fifth took over in 1963. So Chikumeisha, they have their own Kinko body of music and pieces that they teach in the way that they teach. So, and I'm not really, I don't have any degrees or any lineage, any branches to them whatsoever. I like some of the pieces that they play and the style that they play. For example, Sokaku Debo. So when I play Sokaku Debo, I take some ideas of how Yamaguchi Goro plays. I take ideas by how Jin Nyodo plays, but those are also two different schools as well. All right, so pop-up business. Wow, made it. What piece is that? So that piece that we were talking about was Dai Fujikura's Shakuhachi 5. Dai Fujikura. There you go. By Chikume, I mean those Zen Shakuhachi names that... Oh, you mean Geime, right? Okay. Okay, so that title is called Geime, which means artist's name. Okay, the characters for it are this one, that. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. We get wrong turns all the time. And it's kind of hard to say like Zen Shakuhachi. It's more of like a I don't know if we could really say that that's a Zen thing as much as it is just more of a Buddhist thing. But names that you get, they usually... so from how I understand, there's not like a steadfast rule. Like you'll see a lot of the Tozan guys, all of them have the Zan, the character Yama, in their name. Though my name is an exception, all the students that my teacher had, and I think all of the students that my teacher's teacher gave Shihans to, all have the name Zen in them, right? And that's just kind of a marker to identify lineage. I'm not really familiar with a lot of the names that have been given out in the like Chikumeisha, for example. So I'd have to like look at all of their names, and there's a lot of people who don't list them either, which is fine too. It's just a thing, but the name should in some sense kind of reflect how you play, or like just character traits about yourself. But then again, it also doesn't have to either, right? But that's usually what it's there for. So yeah, so Shakuhachi Geime. Perhaps, okay, Dead Pianist says, perhaps melody needs affect us so much because the way it relates to the Overtone series. Yeah, probably. But I also, like, that's, it's ironic for me to say that because of a lot of the music that I've written is not melodically heavy in the sense that we would think of like this piece is melodious. I do a lot of gesturing and expressive phrasing through chords and in clusters and affects that like that. So that and maybe the reason why it affects me differently is because I compose using those elements and those styles, my brain goes on like hyperactive mode and I'm just like really focusing in and listening onto it, so I don't get the same sort of passive enjoyment as I do get as much of an active enjoyment, meaning that I can only do so much of it before I really have to, stop and tune out. Okay, so let's see. Will you two give names to mark like your style? I'm gonna probably continue. If I give out names, I'll be giving out names that bear the name Zen on them. So if it would be like Tozen, Raizen, Ryuzen, that kind of stuff, I'll give those sort of names out as a maintaining the lineage. But right now, no one has a Jun Shihan nor Shihan in my studio, so that will still be, we're still a ways out before that happens. But thank you for the questions, really appreciate that. Okay, time to do a little plug quickly. So the plug is that below this video there is a join button, and if you want a chance to win this shakuhachi and get access to a bunch of shakuhachi lessons and whatnot, click that join button. 4 options will appear: Shoden Trial, Shoden Lesson, Chuden Lesson Series, and Bamboo Champion. Those will, by whatever level you pick, you will get a raffle ticket. So if you do the lowest level, which is the Shoden Trial, you'll get access to like the first 20 videos, I believe, that are on there, and there's over 120, I believe, at this point, that are on this on the membership. That will give you 1 raffle ticket. The Shoden Lesson Series will give you 2. The Chuden Lesson Series will give you 5, and the Bamboo Champion will give you 10. Sign up, have the YouTube Premium, and join on here. So, okay, perhaps, no, here's your next question. So, Dead Pianist also says, I compose too and hope that the audience would have, or would leave humming a melody. It's interesting how Beethoven spent so much time on the Ode to Joy melody. Yeah, it is really interesting on how he spent so much time on the Ode to Joy melody. And I'm going to say something, it's very, maybe interesting. I started writing this piece, and I'll play just a little bit of it through like the finale file. And so I'm just gonna, I'll preface it with this. I was trying to write a piece that was more pop tuney, and I sent it to my one of my friends who has written pop tunes and who has written film scores. There's a lot of like commercial composing, as well as classical, what we would call like the serious concert music. And I had sent this to him saying, I think it's too, I don't think I'm being harmonically adventurous enough, and I think it's a little bit too plain for pop music. So here's what I came up with, and I'll just play the first little verse rather. Like, that's already way more complicated than any pop song that's going to be out there. Pop songs aren't using extensions like 9s and like Lydian sharp 11s and so on and so forth, right? That's just not what they do. But it's hard for me to not do that, right? And so when Beethoven's composing Ode to Joy, though it's a very simple melody, everything else that he was doing, like, if you look at like the Grosse Fuga, or if you look at any of the late Beethoven string quartets, it is not Ode to Joy. It is very, very difficult music, both harmonically, both melodically, both structurally. It's brilliant. So then he's coming from that. That's what his mind's on. That's what he's thinking. And then he's thinking Ode to Joy, like simplicity of what joy is. then trying to do that, it's very difficult. So, and I've even noticed this about myself. Writing simple music is actually more difficult for me than writing very complex music, which I think is strange but interesting. And I think, and actually, my friends concur with me on that. They say that they actually find it to be the same thing. I find it inspiring that his fifth, probably speaking of Fifth Symphony, is all built on those notes. Yeah, Beethoven was a whole nother beast, whole nother thing, right? Yeah. Certain green vegetable. I'm definitely still going with. Definitely gonna go with cucumber still. I'm in between cucumber and zucchini, but I definitely think it's cucumber. But welcome in, man. Thanks for being here. Convince your friends to that are in the chat right now to join the membership and hang out with us on the lessons and on the Discord. Don't forget, for those who are watching right now, we do have the Discord. There are times where it peaks and it gets very active, and there are times where it falls down and it's not that active. So definitely join in, stop by, write some notes and stuff, ask your questions. A lot of people there helping out each other out. It's a very good place, and I would say almost I haven't seen anybody very negative on there. Many people are very supportive and helpful when it comes to learning shakuhachi. So great place to learn. And there's other teachers on there too. It's not just me. There's other people who have shihans as well that are in that Discord group. My name just happens to be on it. Okay, so thank you guys so much for all of the questions. If there, I'll kind of give it like four more minutes to see if we get any more questions regarding. Like, I mean, I have a degree in composition as well from classical music, so we can talk composition too if you want. I'm totally fine with that. I really enjoy that topic. But if there's other questions on shakuhachi too, please feel free to ask those, and then we'll kind of go from there, and then we'll close the stream, and then just good luck to the person who whatever. And I'll do one more shout out here. So, okay, now you're watching this video. This is also to advertise this flute that we're giving away, a Yozan beginner flute, or what we should say, student flute. Plays very well, and right below this video you'll see a join button. If you click that join button, that's how you enter in to get a ticket for the raffle to win this flute. So if you click the lowest level, which is the Shoten trial, that is 1 ticket. The Shoten lesson series is 2, Chuden is 5, and Bamboo Champion is 10. Sign up and we will release who the winner is in just 3 days, July 31st, and I think it's at like 11:30, same time I started this stream, 11:30 a.m., something like that. So sign up and hopefully you win. Dead Pianist also says thank you for all your answers. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here and everything. Okay. So Pop-Up Existence says, not about shakuhachi, but how do you know what you should invest your time into? Like, as a creative person, you want to have many different projects. Would love to know. Okay, so that is a very good question. So I'll just answer personally what I spend a lot of my time doing. So I spend a lot of my time studying theology. I am a Christian, so that's one thing that drives a lot of my creativity. I love reading about historic philosophy and historic theology throughout the church over the past 2,000 years, from the early church fathers up into the Reformation and so on. That really piques my creative side and interest as well. The last song I just played was based off the Psalm 127 called the Song of Ascents, which also talks about in the 3rd verse how children are a gift of the Lord, they're a reward from him. And I had just had a daughter not long ago, right? Not even a year ago, and I wanted to write her a song, so that's what I did under that inspiration. So there's that. Another thing I spend my time doing is I like learning about other types of instruments, especially ones that are related to shakuhachi. So I've done a lot of work recently with hitoyogiri. I've done a lot of stuff with shomyo, which is Buddhist liturgical singing. I've read a lot of Buddhist theology, or not, they don't do theology, they do mostly philosophy, So I've read a lot of their writings, as well as it's just to keep myself grounded in what Shakuhachi is about, and trying to get sort of the sensibilities that they're interested in, especially the idea of impermanence, mono no aware in Japanese, the fleeting existence of things, or even wabi sabi, the veil of antiquity, those kind of ideas about aestheticism. And I enjoy art a lot, but in terms of projects, right? So that's how I use my creative time and endeavors, is to spend a lot of time researching and studying and reading in order to be inspired. And then when I'm inspired, I focus on things that are primarily related to shakuhachi. So the writing new music for the instrument, learning new techniques, learning new pieces, and so on and so on. So Dead Piano says, I love how a lot of the creation stories all start with a sound such as God said, "Let there be light." It makes me feel like we're all upper partials in a great note overtone series. Yeah, it's a really good point too. The power of voice and speech, I think is we actually can reflect that in our daily lives, right? So the universe is made by God speaking. It says, "Let there be light," and "Let there be man." Let there be, saying these things out loud, and then these things are then such. Those sort of things like that saying, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." That's a big lie. It's the biggest lie that they could tell you, because words live with people way longer than a broken bone. There's a story of I heard from this pastor, R.C. Sproul. He's now the late pastor. He talked about this one of his clients who had come in, who was struggling in her marriage, and she felt like that her husband never loved her, or doesn't love her because she thinks she's not beautiful, and like she's like the exact opposite of that. But the thing is that her entire childhood, throughout high school, growing up, she was never called. She was always called ugly, butterface, like that kind of like just really mean and terrible things. And then there she is, 20 years sitting in this guy's office, not beautiful as could be, but the words of the people from 20 years ago still affected her. So the words that we say have a lot more effect and power on other people than something like an actual like push or shove or breaking bones or something like that. Now, of course, like someone can hear that and say, well, the words can't words can't kill you or something like that. It's like, well, so 1 second, I had to. Okay, almost done. But like someone could say, well, yeah, like the sword, or someone could take a sword and like slash your head off and then you're dead. Like that does a lot more damage. Like, okay, of course, if you find like those sort of extreme examples, but it's the idea that words actually do have a major psychological effect on people, same way as music does, right? Music has a huge psychological effect on people, and it really changes people when they listen to it. It can change your mood. It moves us, right? That music was so moving, right? We say that kind of expression all the time. But now I want to go to the next part that's really interesting about the Genesis account. In the Genesis account, it also says that then God breathed into Adam, into his nostrils, giving him the breath of life. What I've always found very interesting about that, and of course there's no like biblical or historical account for this, is just my own like me, envisioning things. I've always felt that when I play shakuhachi, or when I play any sort of instrument, that I'm just taking that same example and I'm imaging the divinity of blowing into an instrument that has no life. It's just the ground, right? It's actually grass. But I take this, I blow into it, and then it has life, right? So in imaging that also that creation account, which is absolutely gorgeous, and it puts so much more meaning into my playing. That's the meditation that I focus on when I play that. It's an image of that event. So every note really is that important, because it's like everybody who is breathed into with the spirit. I think it's Job 33:4, where it says, "And the Spirit of the Lord is the one who created me." Job speaking about his when he was procreated. That idea, the Spirit, our ruach, right, the Hebrew word for wind, our wind going out into the instrument, giving it life, giving it more, making music from it. I think it's just a beautiful image. Makes every note just that beautiful. And Toru Takemitsu, famous words, he says, God dwells within a single note. And a single note is, for us, as shakuhachi players, is by the breath. So, okay. Well, that is time for me to go. I'm going to end the stream, and I think that's a great way to end the stream. So thank you all so much for your time. Don't forget to consider signing up for the membership, and I'll see you guys on the 31st for the reveal of the winner of the flute.